We've all heard that saying, your network is your net worth. So in this video, we'll be exploring why networking could be the key to you finding your next dream role. Hi, my name's Pira and I'm an ex-recruiter and ex-HR consultant, now working as a change management consultant within the banking sector in London. And I'm here to spill the beans on what it takes to find a role in the city, especially if you are a recent graduate or an early careers professional and looking to explore the job market, especially within these tough conditions. So one of the most interesting areas that I get asked to speak about when I'm doing a talk at universities, colleges, or for charitable events with respect to the job market is to talk about networking. Now, I could spend hours upon hours harping on about the reasons for why networking is so critical to your job search, especially within the early days. So I can spend hours upon hours harping on about why it is networking is super key, especially within your early careers, to finding your new role or to ensure that you can pivot away from what you're currently doing to finding something a bit more interesting or enjoying a lifelong passion. So in this video, we'll be exploring what networking is, why it's so important to your career, what are some of the tools that you can use to network best, and also a little stretch exercise to see and set yourself a goal. And finally, we'll end on a note for a stretch exercise to try and see if you can do one or two of the activities that I recommend to push yourself out of the comfort zone so that you can expand your network and ultimately find the role that you're looking for. So the key question is, what is networking? And there are a lot of definitions around it, but a personal one that I really love to think about and share is it's not about what can the other person do for you, but it's an exchange of what you can do for that person, which in essence gives you something called the halo effect, which essentially puts you in a good light to someone so that when a good opportunity strikes, you can then be in the best position to be able to leverage some of that goodwill to be able to hopefully advance something that you want. Now, and that's a very convoluted way of saying pull in a favour for someone, and when the opportunity strikes, then try and leverage some of that goodwill. What I often think about is I'm in middle management, so I have people who are quite junior to me wanting support with a whole host of things. And then you've got the senior management team often wanting tasks to be complete or things for me to do. So when you get an additional thing that's not part of your day job, it seems like another thing that you have to try and cram in within 24 hours. And that can feel really overwhelming, even if, as I truly believe, everyone's heart's in the right place and they do want to make the time. It often feels like there is never enough time to get back to those messages. This is why I think networking is so key, because if you do give someone a bit of a break, whether that's freeing up 20 minutes for someone who is a graphic designer, say, and you give them samples of what their logo could be for their own small company, or if it's a lecturer, if you think about a core session that you would have appreciated at university that would have benefited you in terms of getting yourself employable, write them a small summary on what the topic is, what studies they could talk about, what would the benefits be for their students. These are the type of things that people really appreciate, because they really see that you have taken time out of your own day to try and make their workload lighter. So when it comes to then having a coffee chat with you for 20 minutes about your job search or about applying for a role, they have that goodwill in abundance for you, because they see that you are proactive, that you're helpful, that you're kind, all of these things that matter when it comes to ensuring that you are best positioned for a role within their company. So I always, what it is that you can do for that person, and in return, they may help you or they may not. That goodwill will always be stored. And even if the individual on the other side doesn't take things forward, if within that time frame you have built out a trailer for a YouTube video for that creator, what they will remember is the time and energy that you've spent. What you have learned is a lot of skills along the way. You've learned how to pitch, you've learned about cold outreach, you've learned about rejection and how to manage that internally. So these are all skills that they can't take away from you, which is why I always say, reach out to that person. So now that we've covered off what networking is, we can now explore why a lot of people don't do it. I think the common mistake is the other side of the coin. A lot of people will say, oh, I don't want to badger this person, or I don't want to interrupt them, or I don't want to add on to their list. But if you put the focus on what it is that you can do for the individual, this takes away all element and fear of badgering people. Find is that the experience that you're bringing to them far exceeds any fears that you may have. So now that we've focused on what networking is and what might be preventing you from doing it, let's talk about some benefits of networking. Some benefits of networking that I've personally found is it's led to job opportunity. I've remembered that I've sent them a study that I've promised that I would, or done a write-up for them. And so when I've said, hey, I want to have some work experience doing X, Y, and Z, I personally had hiring managers refer me to HR to say, I would recommend this individual for this posting. And that has given me a step up in terms of my application. And as someone who hasn't had any networks within the industries that I've been in, it's been hugely, hugely beneficial for me to be able to leverage some of this experience and this goodwill to be able to advance my own career. The other thing that networking has allowed me to do is open me up to new opportunities, whether that be travel with work. What I've also found as well is when I've networked really well and I'm going for my end of year appraisal, having those difficult conversations around pay rises or promotions becomes a lot easier because a number of colleagues are aware of what it is that I've done that year and the consequences of that work. And they're able to also be people that are my ambassadors within work to ensure that I make it onto that next stage. It's really difficult when people aren't aware of your work or aware of your successes to then be behind your promotion or your next pay rise, especially within the market that we're operating under, where budgets are getting tighter and tighter. You have to amplify the echo chambers in which your successes are spoken about so that we can ensure that your pay rise, for example, is top of the agenda, because then managers and HR professionals are worried about losing the top talent that they have within their business. A lot of the time, what I found, especially when I've worked for major consulting firms, is that people don't shout about their successes. And so whilst you might be beavering away on client side, when your senior management within your consulting house don't know about it, it then becomes harder to materialize your ambitions to advance your career. The other reason that I think networking is important is because it's a way and mechanism for you to get headhunted. When people are aware of what you're doing, they then become alert to the successes that you're having within the business. It's like when you hear about a red car being in your area, the next time you go out, you're going to be a lot more vigilant to try and spot that red car. So this is why it's so important if you are looking, especially if you're looking to move horizontally within your business, to make sure as many people know about your transferable skills as possible, because it makes finding a role within your business much, much easier. And I often find if you want to move from, say, finance into HR with no prior experience, that shift internally is much easier than a shift externally. So this is why it's so important that your colleagues really do understand what it is that you do. So when it comes down to new vacancies, they are able to say, hey, this person might not have the sector experience that I'm looking for, but what they do bring is a wealth of understanding of how our business works. The other reason that networking is hugely important within your early careers is because it gives you an insight into what you don't want to do. So when you speak to individuals on a more informal basis, they're more likely to say, hey, my role entails 80% admin. And if you don't like that type of work, then actually this role may not be for you. So it allows you to have a real insight into what people get to do day to day. And they really get to tell you the unglamorous sides that you might not get from a job posting. And that could save you weeks and months of pain and having to endure a role that you're not really interested in. So now that we know what networking is, why it's important, we need to talk about how it is that we can do it. One of the main ways that I've done my networking is through LinkedIn. I have also been guilty of just adding people that I find interesting. What I find really useful is when people say, hi, I've noticed that we've both gone to the same university and I found this article that you wrote really useful. I would love to stay in touch. Whilst I may not directly respond, those are the profiles that do stick out to me. I will make a mental note of this person has gone the extra mile to actually do their research on me. And so if they were offering a service that I might one day be interested in, I'm more likely to go with those individuals that have taken the time to personalize those messages. And it's become easier than ever to personalize those messages. You can use any open AI tool with prompts like, I would like to connect with this said individual. Here are my likes and dislikes and some key factors about my career, or just copy and paste your LinkedIn profile and copy and paste in the other individual's profile and ask ChatGPT or any AI tool to find the commonalities and help you structure an outreach message. So I would definitely use LinkedIn. I definitely use in-person events more than anything. So use like Eventbrite and type in IT networking events or media networking events, and they all come. You can even filter on free events, put in a postcode within a certain mileage, and you can find local networking events that you can go to for free. Is that those in-person connections are where you really make the most impact, because you really are able to find that synergy between other individuals. You're able to share stories, you're able to share experiences and really build that human connection. And you're much more likely, studies have shown, to remember people that you've met in person than you do over virtual connections. So it's so important that you get yourself out there. The other place to look is social media. So you've got the likes of TikTok and Instagram. Do follow corporate companies, do follow charities. I know, for example, the Tamil Professional Network are a great organization, or the 93% Club or another great resource where they run absolutely free workshops for people that are of your similar age that are looking to advance their careers. They often bring in guests who are quite experienced or within middle management, who are able to share their experiences on how it is that they've got to their positions. What you will also find is that these individuals are from really well-known companies. And so if you're looking to try and get an internship or get hired directly, these professionals may have contacts themselves that can help you in your job search. What it shows to these speakers is that you are invested in your career, you're invested in your job search, that you've made the time and effort with essentially not much guarantee to try and advance your career. And that commitment and that resilience and graft is what hiring managers want to see within their candidates. So now that we're near the end of the video, I don't want this to be a passive video that you ingest and you don't action anything. What I would love for you to do is actively participate in networking. So I'll list a number of things that you can do, maybe do 1, 2, or all of them, and post in the comment section which action that you've taken and what the response was. So one of the key actions that you can take is going onto Eventbrite and finding a local event near you and speaking to one complete stranger and asking them for advice and tips into a career opportunity that you would like to get into. 2 is reaching out to at least 3 contacts on LinkedIn and ask them for a one-off virtual meeting for 15 minutes to talk about your career advancements. What I would say is give them something like an article or something that's going to help them in their career or their job at the moment. The next thing you can do is reaching out to 3 individuals on LinkedIn and give them some sort of value, whether that's writing an article, creating a YouTube trailer, or creating some content that they might be able to use within their work, and asking them to give you feedback based off of the work that you've provided. And number 3 is joining a community virtually and ensuring that you go to their next in-person event. And so that concludes this networking episode. As I say, if you have actioned any one of those key items, please do drop it in the comment section and let me know what outcomes there were from them. And as ever, please do drop any questions or any pain points that you have in your job search in the comment section. I will try and reply to as many as I can. And where possible, if there is a theme that keeps emerging, I will make sure that I put a video together. Thank you so much for tuning in, and please do subscribe.